Okay, here is the photo today. This is day 29 of my father's last month. So for those of you that are just like picking up, like, oh, what does that mean? So July of 2019 was my father's last month living, being out in the world without being behind hospital walls. Basically, they asked him to come in for a procedure that he did not need, that they themselves determined he didn't need 2 weeks earlier. Went in for this invasive routine procedure. Anyway, gave him an infection that ultimately killed him after a month-long stay in the ICU. So, I'm trying to show pictures and share stories every day to let you know about who Charlie was. All right, for the Justice for Charlie movement. And I would greatly appreciate if in the comments you could, there's a link to sign the petition. We're trying to get to 10K. I think we're at 8,400. And then that's free. And then under that, there's another link that you can get shirts, hoodies, tanks, all kinds of stuff with the Charlie logo on it as well. So this picture, this was a dog. My dad had Great Danes for as long as he lived with my mom. So 30 plus years. And this was the last Great Dane he had. And the dog's name was Thor, and it lived to be, I want to say, like 8. And I remember being with my dad about, you know, a year or two prior before he passed, where he had to have Thor put down, and they had to come to the house to do it. Very, very sad. And I remember my dad was just like crying. My dad really loved animals. And I remember hearing a story that when my dad was young, like a young kid, like 12, that the family dog had been run over by a streetcar in Pittsburgh and cut like in half. It's disturbing, but I guess his dad, apparently handed him 2 black garbage bags and basically was like, "Well, boy, you got to go clean that up." And so, like, just things like my dad was exposed to, like, like things that. So anyway, my dad was a perfect example of, instead of being that hard, mean or whatever. Because I don't want to speak on my grandfather. I never knew him. Uh, my dad did the reverse. He was kind. He was loving. He adored animals, and I remember being so sad watching my dad have to go through with putting this dog down. Not that anyone should put their dog down and be like, oh, it's part of life or whatever, but like, I knew we had so many animals up to that point. I'd never been around my dad when one of them passed, and so, I remember because I had to convince him, like, Dad, I think, this dog's had a good run. Like, it's incontinent now. It's struggling to walk the whole nine. So, Thor was a good dog, and that was pretty sad. Um, so yeah. So if you can, share your stories with me about medical error that you experienced, medical malpractice. If you need, any help, anything I can do for you that can speed your process along, any advice, reach out to me. You know what I mean? If you know of any people doing similar work, plug them in. So I appreciate you. Justice for Charlie.